creating some sort of if you're creating some sort of content, then you're going to be able to say, hey, I have a copyright in that. Again, those rights are created upon creating the particular work, but you can register the ones that are making you money. I don't suggest you register all of them. I suggest that you register the ones that are valuable to your company. Now, our trade secrets, they protect your ways of doing business that are not generally known. And again, I've hammered that, hey, everybody has these. You absolutely do. The second you started your business, you started thinking, hey, how am I going to be successful? Those are your trade secrets. That's how you're going to make your business succeed. And that's really what we want to do for everybody here is to be able to say, hey, we have these, we know they're out there and we have to protect them. Because if we don't, we lose them. And I don't want that to happen to anybody on today's program. I want you to all be like, hey, I know that these are out there now, and I know that I'm going to have to take steps to protect them. Now, here's the best way to think of your IP timing. And yeah, it's a little hyperbolic and it looks like a ticking time bomb. It is. Because unfortunately, time is of the essence and it does fly on us. When we have these deadlines to file, when we have these deadlines to protect, we have to do it. I was telling the guys a couple days ago at a presentation that, hey, I just met a new client that thought they had a trademark. It was a father-son business. The father had filed the trademark, had obtained it, it got registered, but unfortunately didn't renew it. And so the ticking fuse on this time bomb continues to go even after you've obtained them. There are maintenance fees for patents. You will have to pay a fee at 3.5, 7.5, and 11.5 years to keep a patent alive. If you don't pay those, it goes abandoned. Trademarks, you renew those at the 5th year, at the 10th year, and then every decade after that. Copyrights, you don't. You do one initial payment, and that gets it gone. Trade secrets, you don't do anything but maintain your protection. If you're Coke, you don't post the recipe on the internet. You don't take and put it on a YouTube video. You make certain that they're protected. Now, how do we square this stuff away? And this really is the biggest question is to make certain that we've got it protected, to make certain that you guys know what you've got and that we've taken initial steps. And again, like I said, you don't have to protect everything, but you do want to at least have had the conversation of should I protect it? If you've got a ton of product names and those names might change over time, then you might not want to protect all those. But if you have a couple products and they have names and those products are valuable, you absolutely want to protect those. For your business, you absolutely want to protect your business name's trademark. You want to do a clearance search first. Make certain it's clear before you start using it. For your documents, y'all, this is one thing you'll hear attorneys tell you over and over again, and we do mean it. Get it in writing. And I know in the age of AI, it seems really easy to get stuff in writing. We'll talk about that, but I really want y'all to understand no handshakes, no friendship agreements, no, hey, it's my in laws, we'll trust each other. That will blow up in your face quicker than you can believe. Now, for our trademarks, file that registration before you use it in commerce. And I do mean that. Get it out there. I've had several examples of clients who have had a ongoing business. They've been using a trademark. They're making money. They will see someone else using a similar trademark, and the first company, the ones who are out there and created it, did not file for a trademark. They will then go try to enforce it against somebody, and the other company will then try to file for it. That happened to Carolina Charcuterie. They're out of Columbia. There was actually a competing organization out of Charlotte. The only reason they found out about them was they got a nasty gram. They had a client call and say, hey, you're supposed to be here with my charcuterie board. Where are you? And they were like, yeah, what do you mean charcuterie board? We've done everything for today. And they're like, nope. Said, we're out here outside of Charlotte. Need to know what you're doing. And our guys were like, yeah, we don't serve Charlotte. We're in Columbia. And so they then found out, hey, lo and behold, there's another Carolina charcuterie, exact same name, exact same product. Our guys from South Carolina called the North Carolina batch and said, hey, need you to stop using my trademark. The North Carolina group then immediately proceeded to file a trademark for Carolina charcuterie. So understand that while you've got this and it's valuable for you guys, there are protections that have to be put into place. If we don't put those protections in place, we can lose our goodwill. If you ever try to sell your business, it might be used against you that you haven't protected your marks, that you haven't taken the actions necessary to be a good steward of your IP. Our copyrights, if you have someone design like your business logo, you want a copyright assignment. You want that from them. And again, score, Happy and Bina, let me know if I'm not giving you guys a recent copyright assignment. I will provide it. That way you guys can have it if you need it. But if you're using an independent contractor, you want an assignment for whatever they do for you, whether it's creating software code, whether it's designing a fascia for your building, whether it is helping you complete a patentable invention. You want to make certain that if you're using these outside sources and there's a potential that they have an ownership claim, that we get an assignment from them. Now, moving on, we're like, okay, we've talked about what to do with the three. What do we do with that when you said that everybody has the trade secret? I want you to use non-disclosure agreements. If you're in a room with somebody and you ask them to provide you a non-disclosure agreement, granted, don't do it to attorneys. Your attorney has the attorney-client privilege with you. It's one of the strongest privileges. If you ask an attorney to sign that, we all kind of cringe a little bit. We're like, yeah, let me explain what works better. But for a vendor, for an independent contractor, for a potential funding source, use your non-disclosure agreements. Do not go telling about your trade secrets. Do not go telling about the how-tos of your business unless you have a non-disclosure in place. Also, you need to be able to show that you're protecting it. You know, in the Mr. Beast situation, they've got password locked computers. They had limited access. You know, the guy who took this stuff wasn't supposed to be able to do that. And so they're going to tell that to the court of, hey, we've taken our protections. We've done what we should have. This guy bypassed them, took the stuff anyway, and now we need redress. The documentation that you want to show or that, hey, I had a policy about this. The employees were made aware of the policy. You know, have a signed handbook if you've got that many employees. Have non-compete agreements. You know, have a license with somebody who's not necessarily in your company if they use your goods. So there are a lot of things you want to do to show that your trade secrets are being protected, but foremost are being considered a trade secret, that you are going to take care of those. Now, guys, I know I talk really fast, so I'm going to stop for a second and see if anyone has any question. We've got 29 folks in the audience, so hopefully we've got some good ones out there. But guys, feel free to ask. Happy to answer any questions that y'all have.
Okay, so if you do have a question, type it into the chat box and we'll get to it the next time. Right now, there's nothing there.
Yeah, no worries. So we will consider walking on down the field, guys. But if you do have something, just let us know. You know, we've got 28 folks here. You know, Arthur Simpson, I'm looking at you. Ashlyn Rasmussen, I'm looking at you. Carol Richards, Cheryl Kilday. I want you guys to be thinking, hey, I've got an attorney trapped on this thing for a little bit. What should I ask? You know, Wanda Hall, I'm looking at you. Vic Lee, I'm looking at you. Feel free. I want you guys to be very comfortable with this. Now, we'll keep marching on while you guys think of further questions. And the next section we want to do is what do we do with this IP? Okay, we are the dog that's caught the car by the bumper. What do we do? You know, how do we protect this? You know, we've got, okay, I've got it protected. Now that I've caught it, I protected it. What can I do with it? Well, we can sell it. It's just like any other form of property. It's like having a watch or a piece of land. You can sell your IP. You can sell a patent. You can sell a trademark to someone. Lo and behold, you can sell a trade secret to someone. You can sell copyright protected materials to someone. You can also license it, meaning I'm not going to give you ownership of it, but I will give you the ability to use it, maybe in commerce, maybe somewhere else. The timing in this, the exclusivity of it, all of that you can decide for yourself. You can also assign it, meaning that, hey, I'm going to give you the ownership rights to it. You may assign it to your company. If you create it as an individual and say, okay, you know, this is my trademark for Hot Dog King, then guess what? I'm going to assign that to Hot Dog King LLC so that it is not personal property. And I have now taken care of it to make certain that it and the company are forever interlinked. Now, our takeaway menu today, guys, is first, it's a little homework. I want everybody to know that you've got IP. Everybody here has at least a trademark and at least a trade secret, period. We want to protect those. You know, if it's a trademark, let's get it filed. Let's do a clearance search to make certain that that mark is clean, that you don't have a situation to where you may be inadvertently stepping on somebody's toes. But again, we've got to do that review. What are my trademarks? What's my slogan? What's my logo? Am I using it? Before we advertise or disclose new concepts or products, we want to stop and think, okay, do I want to file for a patent on this? You know, should I have applied for a trademark on this? Is this a trade secret that I really don't want anybody knowing and should not put in my latest promotional materials? So you want to just take that math, y'all do that small calculus and be like, okay, what have I got here? How have I protected it? And remember too, guys, your IP is not something that just exists for a second and goes away. Copyright is your life plus 70 years. A trade secret can be infinite. A trademark can be infinite. Currently, guys, let's get you guys to wake up a little bit on Thursday at lunch. Y'all take some guesses on what is the world's oldest trademark. Just type it in the chat. Any guess is a good guess. And I'll stop talking for a second and have a sip of water.
Okay, apparently the chat window is not open, but the Q&A window is open. So type it in the Q&A window, please.
All right, guys. So we're playing with you a little bit. That's okay. Okay, we can hear both. I think the second screen. Hello, can we get this recording? Yeah, Tamara, this recording will be available. But everybody else, I'm looking at the Q&A too. So y'all feel free to ask questions. There's no such thing as a bad question. The only dumb question are the ones we don't ask. But do feel free to ask. We're here to answer anything you've got. But again, right now, y'all take some guesses for us. What is the world's oldest trademark?
We got one guess for Coke.
Ooh, good guess. Unfortunately, Coke is only 100 years old. It is a baby. Now, our presenter here cannot tell us what it is because he just learned about it the other day, and that would be cheating. But what I do want is some other guesses. And Kathy, thank you for guessing. Folks, what are some other trademarks? Now, I'll give you a hint. It is not a U.S. trademark, so that knocks out, Hershey's, it knocks out Walt Disney, knocks out a lot of stuff. It's not the Bible. That's usually a big guess, too. And an even further hint, it's over 600 years old. So, what are some further guesses on what happens to be the world's oldest trademark? And any guess is a good one, guys. All right. Well, looks like somebody just popped in one. I love it. Y'all bear with me. I'm having to use a mouse to pull it down. Let's see, Nike. Oh, okay, Tamara, I hear where you're coming from, but it is a lot younger than 600 years old. It's a good old U.S. mark, but this one, guys, is Stella Artois beer, 640 odd years old. They used to find this mark Stella Artois branded on the casks that the beer was contained in, just the little wooden containers. And so I want y'all to understand is that, hey, even though your mark might not be that old, oh, I love it. And Vontress was right there. She's like, food or beverage? You're on. Carol Richards says her chat is disabled. Carol, just use the question and answer, type into that, and run with it. I'll try to type one real quick so I can see how it works. Of course, and Tamara's right. Of course, it is alcohol. It is one of our favorite sports ever as humans. But y'all understand that. We have a trademark that's approaching 700 years old. It is half a thousand years old. This thing has been in use a long time. And so I want y'all to understand that even though your company might be brand new, you've still got the same potential as Stella Artois. You can have a mark that can stretch out literally hundreds of years, but we have to protect it. And can y'all imagine being the trademark attorney whose job it is to keep Stella Artois alive? Your one and only job is don't let this mark fail. If something bad happens to that trademark, my guess is they just disappear you. There'll be no second guessing this. Now, guys, we're going into the second part of our presentation today, and this is explaining AI. Now, artificial intelligence, if you've got a smartphone, guess what? You're using AI. I'll see if mine will actually show up. Right here's my smartphone. Right here's a picture of my son, Jackson. This little critter is loaded with AI, and if you allow it to send this information off, it will. How many folks on here, and remember, use the Q&A, how many folks on here use Grammarly to review materials? And Von Treese, I see your question. I will be right there. And I'm going to read Von Treese's question. And Von Treese, if I'm slaughtering your name, I apologize in advance. But her question is, I do a lot of designing with Canva. According to Canva, I can sell any designs I create using their stock images, videos, as long as I edit it in some fashion. Do you foresee me running into any issues protecting my work created in Canva? All right, Von Treese, that is awesome. Tell me what you're creating with this. Are you creating paintings? What are you generating with Canva? And y'all bear with. I'm going to maximize the questions. I think they pop up better. Let's see. Me and Rosalind says me. I love it, Rosalind. Me too. But yeah, if you will, Vontrice, tell me what you're protecting. Be a little easier to explain. But you want to go back, and Vontrice did something great. She read those terms and conditions and said, "Hey, you need to tweak it a little bit." I would suggest that too, because if it's a basically a stock image that's out there, what if several other people take that image and start designing on it? You want to make certain that yours is distinct, and you do want to make certain there's not a limit on it. One thing to check on that Von Treese is to make certain, mostly videos, awesome, and sermon intro videos for churches, very cool. And so Von Treese says, hey, I'm making videos with Canva. So go back and check that. And if you're using Canva on it, Von Treese, are you using like particular visual elements? Are you using some sort of video frame that they're giving you for this? What are you using to help create your videos? And while you're answering that, we'll talk about the AI a little bit more because our AI, guys, it stands for artificial intelligence. And what it does is it takes and learns from data. That's all it is. It's not actually intelligent, doesn't have a soul, doesn't have a conscience. It is literally just an algorithm, a program that has been told to do something. Now, generative AI, you guys probably play with this all the time. My wife runs drafts through ChatGPT. And it's paragraphs, paragraphs to the kids. Like we have two 15-year-olds. They're both going to be driving soon. The daughter actually passed her test Monday night. And so I'm taking her Friday afternoon to the DMV. I want y'all's thoughts and prayers with me. It's going to be a long afternoon. But when we walk out of there Friday, she's going to be able to drive the car home without me in it, which kind of freaks me out. And Tamara says she creates newsletters for Canva. And so, yeah, y'all, what you want to do if you're creating this content for them, you do want to tweak it. You do want to make it different. And check the Canva rights. Make certain you know exactly what you can use it for. If you're using a different program, same math. Go check on it. Make certain that you've got permission to use it. Now, if you want to try to claim ownership to it, or if you create something that's really cool and you're like, hey, I might make this a logo for my company, or I might do something with this. I want you guys to do that math again and say, all right, do I want to file a trademark on this? And if I do, should I take it to a marketing company or somebody and have them pretty it up for me? And it's okay to do that, to say, I started on this with Canva, but I'd like this tweaked or that tweaked, and then have them work on it for you. And y'all, I'm monitoring the Q&A, so y'all feel free to interject. If he says yes, mostly use. Now I've got bad eyes, so I'm having to lean into the screen. I use some of their stock videos, images, and elements to build my videos. I use all features. Canva says I can sell it, but I want to claim ownership of what I've designed using their elements. And that's what you should do with it. On that one, Ventrice, you do want to be able to say, hey, or Ventrice, I'm so sorry, just solely O. But Vontrice, what you want to do is to say, yeah, this is mine. You want to start labeling it. If you're going to start selling those products, you want to make certain, again, read that Canva very, very diligently and make certain you're complying with it. But you want to label and say, hey, this is a Vontrice Roberts production. Or if you've got a trademark that you use, this is VR Productions, if that's what you're selling it under. So you do want to make certain that you label it as yours, but you do want to comply with Canva to make certain that the steps you take are what they allow you to do. And with that generative AI, I mean, thank you for this, Fontrice. It's a great feed into where we're at. She's creating images and videos with it. She's getting some sound out of it. She's getting things out of it that she didn't have beforehand. And that is a generative AI. She's saying, hey, make me this, and it will. Now, what I want us to further understand, though, is that a lot of people think AI is this. It's this robotic figure and it's going to do our thinking for us. And heck, it'll pick up the groceries for us and it'll tell us what to do to be better looking and taller. That's the AI that a lot of us consider it to be. Now, if you're like me, you probably think it's a little more like this guy. And so now I don't want to throw our host under the trails today, but somebody had not seen the Terminator 2. So I've bothered him about that. I think we're going to get him to watch the movie. I'm feeling big success coming up. But a lot of people do think this is the next AI, or these Arnold Schwarzenegger skeletal looking androids coming to get us. Here's what AI really is, guys. It is Mr. Bean copying somebody's homework. And you're like, Doug, what do you mean by that? Well, we call it artificial intelligence, but let's really call it what it is, fake dumb. And by fake dumb, I mean that there's not really an intellect behind it. It's a program that's been sent out to do something. And it has been told how to do that with various algorithms and various features. It does not think. It doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have a conscience. It doesn't have a moral compass. Those things that make us human, that allow us to be a person, that allow us to interact in society, they absolutely positively lack that in an AI. The problem with that is that, hey, I can't think outside the box. They don't have common sense. They don't have the ability to be like, should I do this or should I not? They're told to do something or asked to provide something, and they do it. Now, here's a couple problems with it just to think on it clearly and almost in like a scientific way. They're an algorithm. and they can be driven by a data bias. If you want to test an AI that you're playing with, ask it about Tiananmen Square, see if it'll tell you about it. Ask it to tell you a joke about somebody, and you may find out that it's not going to go into certain areas. It may just block it off and be like, hey, nope, no, I'm not going to tell you that, or I can't tell you that, or I'm not going to provide that info. The ones that don't have a bias, you should be able to talk to them about anything. Be kind of like a little electronic confessor. Now, granted, don't confess too much. We're going to go into that in a second, but and one thing too, guys, I did ask, has anybody used Grammarly to check like various documents? I don't see any answers on that yet, but if you would let me know, I'd appreciate it. And you say a yes or a no or a maybe, and I'm good with all those responses. But back to AI, we want to learn that we do have these social biases in it. Those algorithms have been engineered to not provide all information. And I want you guys to be very careful with that because it's like any sort of cloak and dagger, you don't know what you don't know and you don't know what it's not telling you. So be very careful using an AI, and especially if you want to use it as like a source of knowledge, make certain that it's actually fully functional knowledge and that it is not biased in some way. I love it. So we've got anonymous attendee. I like your name. I've never heard that before. Anonymous attendee says, I use Grammarly all the time. Carol Richards says no. And then Willette Wooden says, nope, never use Grammarly. So anonymous attendee, time to panic a little bit. Every time you use Grammarly, whatever you put into it to check, whatever you put into it to spell, and we've had some more responses. I'm jumping on those right now. Von Tree says yes when she's emailing. And Ida Washington says, I use Grammarly. And Tamara says, hey, can you tell us how to do that with Grammarly? So no, I'm not certain what that is, Tamara. Clear that up a little bit for me and I'll be happy to address it. But y'all, Grammarly, if you're using the free version of it, we'll tell you in those conditions like Von Treese read for Canva that, hey, if you use me for this, I'm going to send this information out. I am going to use it to train people. B. Thomas and Bina wrote in and said, hey, I haven't used Grammarly and I'll hear it. I haven't either. I've got terrible grammar and I'm just going to keep moving forward. But what I want y'all to understand is if you're using the system, if you're using the free Grammarly, guys, it will take whatever information you put into it and it will ship it off to another place. And I mean another server that you don't control and that other AI peruse all the time. Ida says she pays for it. So Ida, I want you to go back and check your paid subscription and to see what it does with the information because I suspect as a paid user, you have control over the information that's going to be disseminated. And I absolutely positively want you to control that flow of info. Now, guys, back to our discussion on our AI. Yep, sorry, we had another one pop up. I love the fact you guys are talking to me now. This is awesome. And again, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A. Let's see. You said we can use it to check documents. I'm sorry. How do you do it? I've never used it, Tamara, but do this. Ask Ida and Von Treese how they do it because they can tell you how to do it. I've never used Grammarly. I don't use it. I'll put an 8 in a sentence and grin all day long. But it sounds like Ida and Von Treese are better writers than I'll ever be. So get them and just do a side chat with them or find out their email, but ping them. And I'm certainly be happy to explain it to you. Now, guys, for our next step here is like, what are some other dangers of this AI usage? Like if Grammarly's collecting my stuff and putting it out there, what are the others doing? Passive use of data collection. Hey, it knows that guess what? Tamara is a hot rod fanatic. She loves drag cars. Guess what? It's also knows that, hey, Ida's out there. And because Ida was starting to use the system to do something, it learned her address. Von Treese is on there and it says, hey, we know that Von Treese likes ladies Gamecock basketball. And so we're going to put that in her sports feed. I get the same thing. I love the Lady Gamecocks. And so these systems know this about us. Now, our imbalanced social interactions, this is more for the younger generations, but it is the sad ability for them to sort of stop having face-to-face communication with folks and end up having just this social interaction with folks. And I'm sorry about the slides popping on me. Tamara says, sorry, this is Carol. Does it mean that if we pay for the services, we get to control the content that we create? Carol, that's a great question. You should be able to control the content, but what I'm more worried about is you want to control where the content goes. You want to control who is exposed to that content. Like if you're using Grammarly to work on your business plan, I don't want that information going out in the Ethernet. That's a trade secret. So I don't want that confidential information dumped into the internet because we used Grammarly to do a spell check for us. And so I want y'all to be very aware of these AI programs, guys. And a lot of them you can turn off, but you've got to dig into the settings to figure out how I turn it off. So I want all of y'all to think on that. I want all y'all to start using it because we don't want your information just put out there willy-nilly. Carol, you're most welcome, sweetie. I'm glad that y'all are asking questions. Now, I want to show you another danger in AI. So I asked ChatGPT, this is the big one. Everybody's used ChatGPT. Wife uses it all the time. My exact queries put here. Generate a picture of Papa Smurf riding a T-Rex. That's all I told it. It's all I wanted. Picture of little old Papa Smurf riding the tyrant king of the dinosaurs. So ChatGPT writes back and says, I can't directly generate images, but I can guide you on how you can do it. And you can use a graphic design software like Photoshop or Illustrator. You can start with a picture of Papa Smurf and T-Rex and layer them. Well, notice most of us stopped reading at the first paragraph. Second paragraph says, hey, you can look for illustrations or clip art of Papa Smurf and T-Rex separately, and then you can combine them using an editing software. Here comes the fun part. And it says, just be sure to respect any copyright restrictions if you're using images created by others. So ChatGPT at least tried to warn you that, hey, there could be some infringement issues here. There could be a problem with sending me out to do this dirty work for you. Now, ChatGPT has brother and sister AI. I went over to our buddies at deepai.org and asked the same thing. If I can get my slides to advance, there we go. So Deep AI said, hey, you want a picture of Papa Smurf riding a T-Rex? I'm going to give you nightmare fuel. And you look at this thing, guys, and it really is horrible. It's got 3 legs. I think that's a tail and a second tail, some sort of spine on the back of it. It's got the sharpest teeth I've ever seen in a Smurf, and yet it does have Papa Smurf's colorations on it. And y'all, this is only a year old. This is not some sort of ancient AI that was created forever. I need to do a more modern one to see what these little guys will come up with now. But, this was it. And notice there's no warning. It doesn't say, hey, I took the picture of Papa Smurf, which is a Mattel property, and combined it with a picture of a T-Rex taken by a world famous anthropologist who recreated it from a skeletal structure. None of that at all. Instead, it says, here's your picture. And so now you've got this little AI generated image. Problem is, it could be copyright infringement from multiple sources. So I want you guys to be very, very careful about this because just because these machines can do it doesn't mean they should do it. I would love it, Tamara. I think it's ugly as the devil too. Feel free to cut and paste it though. Send that to your kids. Anybody who's on your current bad person list, send them a picture of this. It'll generate nightmares for weeks with them. But also understand too, this thing didn't give me any warning. It just said, here you go. At least ChatGPT tried to warn us a little bit and said this might cause a problem. Maybe you should think about this. Deep AI, not so much. And that's why I want you guys to think before we use these programs. And I want you to read that terms and conditions to know if I do this, what happens. And so before we start using these AI programs, hey, what's it guarantee about my data privacy? I ought to go back and read your paid Grammarly. Does it say, hey, I'm going to send this stuff out? Or does it say, hey, you can cut this off? And I can't do a thing with it because you paid me Ida Washington, Ida Washington, and I am not going to do it. Now, Ida, I got to ask, are you and Tamara related? I just saw your last names pop up, and yes, I'm easily distracted. Now, you also got to ask, when the data I put in, does it stay with my computer? Does it go somewhere else? What data do you collect off me? Are you looking at just what I put on the screen? Are you sifting through my internet searches? What am I giving you permission to do by turning you loose? Especially, y'all, if you're turning one loose on your phone. As y'all know, we use the phone for everything from shopping on Amazon to finding directions. Like today, I'm in Georgetown, South Carolina, and I jumped on Waze this morning and said, hey, I need to get to Georgetown. I can remember roughly how to get down there, but I don't know exactly how to get there. And it's like all of a sudden, it's like, well, okay, he's going to this address, he's going here. I feel like we are family. I'm not sure, but hi, cousin. I love it. All right, so we've got Family Feud on here with Tamara and Ida. We'll try to stir up some stuff here in a little bit with them. But y'all, I want you to understand that I'm worried about this AI stuff on your behalf. I want us to be certain that if it is on your phone, that you know what it's doing. You know what it's being exposed to. You know where it's going to go once you hit the off button on your computer. If you have a business here, guys, that deals with any non-U.S. citizens, Europe has a lot harsher laws on consumer privacy than we do in the U.S. currently. So if you have a business that has a European output or a non-U.S. output, you need to make certain that that consumer data is protected because unleashing it to an AI might get you in trouble. Now, you may ask yourself, hey, what do I do? Oh, awesome. We got another comment popped up. Tamara says, we can't see other questions, so thank you for narrating beautifully for us. Oh, Tamara, I'm just a simple beast and read what's on the screen. I'm kind of like Ron Burgundy on that show where he was the media personality. It's totally escaping me right now. But Anchorman, there we go. But no, I'm happy to do this, guys. And it helps me because y'all's questions really do focus really well on our presentation and you kind of guide us along. But when we're looking at this AI, guys, I don't want y'all to let everybody in the company use it. Pick one user, make certain they get some training on it. You can send them this PowerPoint and say, hey, Doug raised some issues. I want you to read up on this a little bit. Also, when you're going to be using these systems as it's you or that other person, let them know we don't put in the trade secrets. Guys, do we have any bakers or chefs in the audience today? Any bakers or chefs in the audience today? And I'll sit here and look for the scroll bar to move. But if we do have bakers or chefs in the audience, we don't put our recipes into Grammarly. We don't use an AI to look at them because those are strictly trade secrets, or highly confidential or proprietary information like a customer list. Maybe you want to organize that thing and make certain the columns are straight. But make certain that the AI you're using to do that does not send that list out so that your competitors can then search for it. Because that is a big thing with the Grammarly systems and whatever else that send it off site is you don't know where it goes. You don't know what can see it. Now, what could possibly go wrong if I just turn these AI loose? Doug, you're just trying to fool me. It's Thursday. The weekend's almost here. The weather's great. We got the Masters playing. I am not worried about AI. I'm just going to turn this thing loose. Yes, permission granted. That's how Thursday afternoon begins. Well, here's the problem. It may let your competitors know exactly what you're doing. If you're providing your cookie recipes, your expansion plans, or any of your trade secret data, it's now out in the Ethernet to be found. Relying on any AI generated document, y'all, it's a bad plan. They tend to be oversimplistic. They are not focused on any jurisdiction. All of us are in lovely little diamond shaped South Khaki. That's our state. We love our state. And guess what? Our contracts work really well here. They don't work really well elsewhere. Contracts from New York don't work well here. Contracts from California don't work well here. Von Treese, she says, I hate to bring up Canva again, but they advised to add a statement that the design was created using AI tools. I see a lot of this on Etsy. The seller will just add a sentence that states the design was created using AI tools. What are you saying is that is not sufficient? Am I understanding? No, what I'm saying, Von Treese, is you absolutely should use the statement they tell you to do, but I want you to wag your tail a little bit, my dear. I want there to be this is owned by Von Treese Roberts at the VR Publishing Company. You can put on there that's generated by AI. It's completely fine to do that. And if they tell you to do it, absolutely do it. But I also want to wag your tail some. I want folks to be able to identify that, hey, Von Treese had it design this. I like the way she tells it to make a picture. I like the way she tells it to describe something. I like her videos. And so Von Treese just makes certain that it identifies you too, because if you're the one doing the work here, I want you to get the credit for it. So nothing bad about that. I just want you to wag your own tail a little bit and to make certain when people see it that they see it's out there. You might also consider putting a watermark through anything you create so that they can't just lift it off and copy it. Put the VR publications or whatever you're known as. If it's Hottie VR, make certain that's in there in a watermark so people cannot lift your stuff that easily. Her response back was, got it, and you're most welcome, my dear. But yeah, I want y'all guys wag your tails. We're small businesses. Believe it or not, I'm a small business. I'm a IP practitioner in Greenville, and I love small businesses. And I love the fact y'all are working with SCORE. Mike and these guys here are awesome. Bina, and they are here to help you. They're here to do a great job. And you know what? They have sang a song or two. They have great information on this. And so I do want y'all to understand working with SCORE is a great thing. Keep it up. That is a great sign for your business to go. Oh, new contestant. We have Christopher. I'm trying to read your last name, my friend, and my eyes are so bad. I think it's Karen's. Seeing a lot of talk on the internet about developing agent and multi-agent AI algorithm to automate routine internal business processes. What are your thoughts on this? Any way to do this and to protect your trade secrets? Beautiful question, Christopher. I love it. So, short circuit, Christopher says, hey, I want to use an AI to do things that are pretty rudimentary. Maybe it's like organization or ordering parts, things like that. Y'all, AI are good for that. If you can say, hey, I've sold 15 widgets and I need you to order 15 widgets, and AI can do that beautifully. Now, Christopher, what we want to do though It's just kind of like these warnings of we want to figure out what that AI is doing other than what you tell it. We want to make certain, and I prefer, Christopher, that you use a captive AI, that you use one that is just you, that you own, you control, and it doesn't send anything off site. I want you to use one that if you tell it to handle this stocking issues for you, or if it's time card stamping or whatever it might be, that you understand that your information stays your information and it doesn't go anywhere else. But my thoughts on it are I think it's a good thing. If you use it and you keep it away from the secrets that we don't want told, there we go. And how do you do that? Well, you don't want your trade secrets living in the same area as that AI. You don't want that AI to have access to all your files. You may just want to set up a subdomain or something on your C drive and let the AI live there and say, okay, AI, here's the vendor information for me ordering new parts. This is your castle. This is what you run. So you don't want to turn it loose in all your systems, Christopher. But I do think it is a good thing. And that is one of the good uses of AI is for these menial tasks. You can turn it loose on, ordering things, maybe customizing things, maybe placing things more efficiently, maybe help to orchestrate a process more efficiently. Now, if you do this internally, let's say you've got a machine shop and you've got it set up in a certain way, and the AI comes in and says, hey, set up this way for greater efficiency. Guess what? You and the AI just created a trade secret. I did, Willett. I said a captive AI. And what I mean by that is I want one that does not leave your system. I want it to be the Willett Wooden AI. I want it to go to church with you, hang out with you, maybe eat your meatloaf on Thursday nights. But what I want this thing to do is to be yours. I don't want it to be one that just kind of willy-nilly jumps from your computer to somewhere else. I want one that you control, a captive AI. And again, that's kind of like what we were telling Christopher. We want one that'll stay in his system, maybe even relegate it to a particular file to say, hey, Captive AI, this is your domain. You can use the information here, but you don't get to leave. You don't get to go anywhere else. Now, and you may ask, Doug, why is this important? Why do we care? It can incur significant liabilities if we are unokay with it. Our accuracy and quality control, guess what? AIs can be made to hallucinate. An example I love is that we're going to tell the world that polar bears love lettuce. And again, I want to repeat that. I'm not going crazy on Thursday. I'm going to say we want to fool all the AIs on the planet into telling other people that polar bears love lettuce. And the way we're going to do that is all of us here, all 29 of us on today's presentation are going to go tell 29 more people to start typing in little areas, polar bears love lettuce. We're going to put it in 9gag. We're going to put it in Reddit. We're going to put it on Facebook. We're going to put it in Instagram. We're going to put it on X. We're going to put in there polar bears love lettuce. And you know what's going to happen? This information will reach oh, you're welcome, Willette. You're most welcome. What's going to happen is this information will reach a critical threshold. And then when somebody starts asking an AI about a polar bear, once we've hit this threshold and caused enough information to be out there, we'll make it hallucinate. And some poor kid's going to have a report on polar bears that, due to us and our little nefarious friends, is going to say, and by the way, polar bears love lettuce, favorite food. And that right there is a big problem. They don't have common sense. They don't have a moral compass. They don't know where reality stops and fakery starts. Their lack of a legal judgment and context, guys, absolutely positively do not use AI to create a legal document that you use. You can have them create a rough draft, but then I want you to go to one of my brothers or sisters and have them look at it, have them review it. Because if you don't, and you rely on a final draft that's created by AI, I saw one this week from a company that says this document will be governed by the laws of the United States. Well, I'm like, big whopping dude, we live in the U.S. Sure, which state? Because guess what? New York's got different contract laws than South Carolina. California's got different contract laws than South Carolina. But if you tell an AI to go out and look for these things, guys, it's going to look just like our hallucination. It looks for the volume of data, and it will find out and say, oh, wait, polar bears will eat lettuce, but hey, there are a lot of these contracts that say I can't have a non-compete agreement, so I better not put that in the contract that I'm doing for Willette. We don't want that. We want a contract that's good in South Carolina because guess what? We absolutely can have restrictive covenants here. We can have non-competes. We can have limits on time, limits on space as far as setting up a competing organization. But California, which generates a lot more documents than we do legally, doesn't allow that. So be very careful asking these things to work for you. Do have an attorney in that particular jurisdiction look at it. Guess what? ethically. They don't understand what's good information and bad information. They just understand information. So I don't want any of your consumer data on there. I don't want any of your client data on there. I don't want any trademarks exposed to it. These little critters will run off and they will whisper it like a teenage girl with a new boyfriend telling her friends. I don't want y'all subject to that. Regulatory compliance, guys. If you have to submit anything to South Carolina or the feds about your business, if it's a HIPAA thing, if it's an FCC thing, whatever it might be, I absolutely positively do not want you using an AI to do that. Christopher had asked, hey, what are these things good for? Rudimentary stuff. Reorders, organizing and process, things like that, increasing efficiency. They're not made to think. They're not made to do your dirty work for you in that matter. Reliability and maintenance, guys, AI is like any tool. If you leave a hammer out in the rain, it's going to rust. If you leave a pair of pliers out in the rain, the thing will rust so much it won't even work anymore. AI have to be maintained. If they're not maintained, then they tend to break down. They tend to hallucinate easier and they will have old data. You might be asking for current data on something. If that thing's not been updated in a while, it's not going to have the information and it won't tell you that information. And again, this won't be a bias. It simply doesn't have the information because it wasn't updated. Now, for us though, what I want us to learn from today is that we don't have to be danger to these systems. We don't have to be worried about it. We just have to be cognizant of it. We've covered our IP forms today. We understand that trade secret is the one that we most want to keep away from our AI. The others apply as well because we don't want to expose those too early. But what we do want to do is to understand, hey, it's a good tool if used right. It can create a draft document that you have somebody look for, but what we don't want to do is to have a situation to where we release any babies with the bathwater. That's not us, and it's not what we want. So, guys, we're currently at the end of the presentation. We've got about 8 minutes left, and I'm happy to answer any and all questions y'all have got. So, guys, have at it. Now I'm looking at the Q&A, and we'll answer the questions as they pop up. And any question, IP, if it's general legal and I don't know, I'll tell you. But any question y'all have got, I will be happy to answer.
Mhm.
I'm not seeing anything pop yet up, guys, but I will stay here focused on it. Wait, we just had one pop up. Hold on one sec. This one says, if I can get my mouse to work. There we go. Tamara says, thank you. Awesome course. Will we be able to email? Of course you will, my dear. Hold on. I will actually type an answer in here for you guys. And so, y'all, what I'm going to put in is my name, my direct line, and my email. Y'all feel free to reach out to me. I'm currently traveling today. Oh, Subi, I just typed the answer and I did not mean it to go so fast. So I'll type 3 answers. So the first one was my name. Here's my direct line, y'all. This comes straight to my office. I do have voicemail if I'm not there. Bear with me one second, guys. Now my computer's telling me my battery is running low. You flick a switch over here. But I'm getting ready to pop in my direct dial. Y'all feel free to call me. I do have a voicemail, so you can feel free to leave a question. And now I'm going to type in my email since I'm not smart enough just to tab between these answers. But y'all feel free to hit me on anything you work with. Do tell me you were SCORE. I do give discounts on work for SCORE. I love small business. I love helping you guys. Itis is a great presentation. Well, says thank you. Well, thank you both. I'm glad that y'all liked it. I want y'all to ask me any questions while you've got me here. Here is my email as well. Y'all feel free to reach out to me at any point. Again, SCORE's got the presentation. If you guys want it, ask them for it. Ask me for it. That's okay. But what I want y'all to know is, hey, always ask questions. That's the one thing we want. That's why you go to SCORES to say, hey, there's people with a knowledge base that can help me. They can put things out here. And it's so funny, guys. You cannot see your answers on the Q&A. So I get why y'all were so weirded out that I was sitting here reading. It is kind of weird. When should one approach a lawyer for IP protection? A great question, y'all. And Bean, I think it's you. when we do that, we want to do it early. We want to make certain that we clear our trademarks before we go into business. I don't want you guys using a name and then getting a cease and desist letter 6 months later going, hey, I happen to be, Christopher Cairns Hot Rod Soup. You can't be Christopher Cairns Hot Rod Soup. I was there first. And now Christopher's got to go back and he has to rebrand. He has to get rid of a lot of stuff that he's already spent money on. I don't want that. We want to do a trademark clearance search very early on. When do you go for that attorney for your patents? When you've got it nailed down some. I want you to operate under the principle until then. Bina says, thank you. Great presentation. You're most welcome. It may be just B. Thomas. Bina, if that's not you, I'm sorry. But yeah, y'all, what I want you to understand is, the IP is always out there and it needs to be protected, but it can make your business money. You can use a trademark to get a loan from the bank. If you can show, hey, I'm great big in the Midlands, I'm great big in the upstate, I'm great big in the low country, my trademark's worth X, a bank will give you a loan on that. They will give you a loan on your patents. They will give you a loan on your copyrights. I've got a question from Denise Tyndall. If I use ChatGPT to spell check or make an editorial more concise, do I need to give credit to ChatGPT underneath the author's name or anywhere else in the publication? A check on that, Denise. I think the answer on that one's no. I have not read their terms and conditions, so take it with a big cautionary tale because I know my wife does it all the time and she never attributes anything. So yeah, just busting my wife. Y'all can call it and get me in trouble. But I would tell you check. And Denise, one thing, if you're creating it and essentially it's just sort of fabricating the words for you or processing it a little bit, that's still your work and it's essentially just being a scrivener for you. But do check and see if if it generates it from whole cloth, you're like Chat GPT, I want something that says this, then check on Chat GPT's accreditation and attribution rules to see what they want you to do. Willette's got a question. Can you explain the difference with LLC versus a corporation? Sure thing. In South Carolina, we got two types of corps. We have a C Corp and an S Corp. A S Corp is a small corporation, and that is one that's going to have typically a lower number of shares. A C Corp is going to be a bigger one. It's typically going to have more shares for a bigger entity. An LLC is a limited liability company. If you're a small business guy, start out with an LLC first. It's an easier to maintain critter, cheaper to maintain critter. You don't have to have stock. You don't have to have a lot of different agreements that you do for a C Corp or an S Corp. But it's a limited liability company. And then we have two types of corporations, a small corp and a C Corp, S Corp, C Corp. And so what we want you guys to do is to realize, hey, have one. I absolutely want everybody on here to have a corporate entity. I don't want a sole proprietorship. I do not want a partnership. I want you guys to protect this. Von Treese just popped up. Thank you so much. You're doing a great job breaking down things I've struggled to move forward with. Heck, Von Treese, if I could stop my teenagers from struggling forward, I'd create something. I love IP just like my kids, but I can explain this. I don't understand my daughter at all. Plus, she's going to be able to drive soon, Von Treese. It's freaking me out. But y'all, I do want y'all to always feel free to contact me. I am here to help SCORE, and they're here to help you. Mike, did you try to step in, buddy? Wait, Von Treese has got one more.
No.
Do you work with clients outside of South Carolina? Oh, Von Treese, of course I do, dear. Federal is completely, trademarks are federal critters. I have clients from the Dominican Republic, Texas, California. I've even got a couple Canadian weirdos that talk funny. So yes, I can definitely help somebody from Florida. If we need to get you Florida documents, I've got connections down there with buddies, so I can help. But at that, oh, crud.
Oh, what happened there? I think we may have lost Doug. He must not have got his computer plugged in, but essentially his discussion is over. So thank you for attending today. And if you have any other questions, you do have his email address. It was in the Q&A window. You can send him an email, and you can send emails to SCORE or get on our website. If you do want to request a mentor for anything that you're looking at in the future, just get on the piedmont.score.org website. And there's a link in the upper left corner to find a mentor, and you can just follow through those pages and request someone. So thank you for attending, and good luck with what you're doing.